In the quiet town of Ashfield, Oregon, the disappearance of 29-year-old Claire Reed sent ripples of fear through the community. On the evening of October 11, 2016, Claire left work at her usual time but never made it home. Her car was found the next morning, parked just outside her office building, untouched. Inside the vehicle were her lunch container, a water bottle, and a sweater, everything except her phone, keys, and purse, which seemed to have vanished with her. There were no signs of struggle, no broken glass, and no security footage capturing her final steps. Friends and family described Claire as responsible and careful, not the type to disappear voluntarily. Despite weeks of searching, posters, and social media appeals, no trace of her ever turned up. With no leads and no suspects, the case grew cold, leaving only one haunting question behind. How does someone vanish so completely in such a small, familiar town? 2 years passed with no answers. Then, in late 2018, a construction crew began clearing a long-abandoned farm property on the outskirts of Ashfield, preparing it for development. During excavation, they discovered something unusual: a large, rusted steel door hidden beneath a thick layer of dirt and weeds. It led to an underground storm cellar, sealed tightly with a chain and lock. When authorities arrived and forced it open, they were met with a disturbing scene. The narrow staircase descended into a dark, airless room. The air was heavy with rot and mildew. The space contained a stained mattress, empty food cans, a metal chair with restraints, and crude hooks bolted into the walls. Most chilling of all was a worn notebook resting on a crate. Inside were handwritten entries, lists of dates and names, each name crossed out. One line read, "Claire, October 11, 16, done." Several other names followed, none of which had been tied to any known crimes. Alongside the notebook were personal items: women's shoes, bracelets, scraps of clothing, and a bloodied scarf. Investigators carefully collected evidence and sealed the scene. They knew immediately that this wasn't just a cellar, it was a prison. And someone had used it more than once. With the discovery of the underground cellar, the investigation shifted focus to the ownership history of the land. Records showed the property had once belonged to a man named Arthur Hale, a quiet and reclusive figure who sold the land in 2017 and had since vanished from public view. Neighbors remembered him only vaguely. He kept to himself, rarely spoke, and lived with an intense focus on privacy. Digging into his past, investigators uncovered that Hale had a background in survivalism. He had spent years off-grid, hopping between small towns in Oregon, Idaho, and Washington. More alarming, a pattern began to form. Between 2009 and 2016, 5 women had vanished from areas near Hale's former residences. None of their disappearances had ever been linked, until now. Inside the storm cellar, police had also found a shoebox of old, printed photographs. Each one featured a woman, and many of them resembled Claire in age and appearance. Some of the photos had red XS drawn over the faces. Authorities believed these were trophies or targets. One woman in the photos was identified as Ivy Marsh, a woman listed as a runaway in 2015. Another woman was confirmed to be among the previously unconnected missing persons. It became increasingly clear that Arthur Hale had been hunting. The notebook, the photographs, and the matching disappearances all pointed to a single conclusion: this was the work of a serial predator. But with Hale nowhere to be found, the case was far from over. And the real story was only beginning to unravel. Just as the investigation was losing momentum, a breakthrough came from an unexpected place: a psychiatric facility in Boise, Idaho. A staff member contacted authorities after a patient named Ivy Marsh saw a televised news report about the storm cellar and became visibly shaken. Ivy had been institutionalized for years, diagnosed with severe trauma and delusional behavior. For a long time, no one had believed her claims about being kept underground like an animal. But now, with the cellar's discovery matching her exact descriptions, everything changed. Detectives traveled to meet her. Ivy recalled being taken while walking home one evening in 2015, then waking up in darkness. She described the staircase, the mattress, the chains, and the cold. She remembered a man who fed her canned food, never spoke, and kept her chained for what felt like weeks. One day, she said, he simply didn't return. She managed to free herself and escape through a broken section of the cellar ceiling, running barefoot through the woods until she collapsed near a highway. Found disoriented and unable to explain her ordeal, She was assumed to be mentally unwell and was eventually committed. Her story matched the cellar's layout in disturbing detail, including features not shared with the public. DNA testing confirmed the blood on the scarf found in the cellar belonged to Ivy. This revelation shifted her status from unreliable patient to sole known survivor. She provided names, timelines, and descriptions that filled critical gaps in the investigation. Most chillingly, she insisted the man who took her wasn't acting alone. According to Ivy, someone else came to the cellar, someone who never showed their face but always gave instructions. That mysterious second presence would soon take center stage, turning the case in a direction no one expected. With Ivy Marsh's testimony pointing toward a second, unseen accomplice, the case took a chilling turn. Investigators revisited every detail of the evidence collected from the cellar. Fingerprints on the notebook revealed an unknown female DNA profile mixed with traces of Arthur Hale's. That same unknown profile appeared on the personal items recovered from the scene: bracelets, shoelaces, and even the sealed lock on the storm cellar door. This confirmed Ivy's disturbing claim: someone else had been involved, and that someone was likely a woman. Using facial recognition software, police ran the photos from the shoebox again and got a hit. One image matched a woman living under the name Grace Palmer in Calgary, Canada. But her real name was Emily Voss, reported missing in 2014 and believed dead. When questioned, she calmly admitted to faking her disappearance and fleeing the U.S. She claimed Arthur Hale had held her captive for months but eventually trusted her and let her assist him. Her words chilled investigators. She wasn't a victim, she was a partner. Emily confessed to helping lure women by gaining their trust, drugging them, and bringing them to the cellar, where Hale would take over. She referred to it as the cleansing process. Emily showed no remorse. She spoke in measured tones, calling their victims wasted potential and insisting they were giving them a purpose by removing them from a broken world. Her answers were mechanical, rehearsed, like she believed what she was saying. She even claimed that Hale wasn't the mastermind. She said she had studied the women for months, selected them, and gave Hale orders through coded notes. To support her claims, she provided locations of 2 previously unknown burial sites near Hale's old cabin, both of which turned up human remains. Arthur Hale had died of natural causes in 2017, leaving behind a trail of silence. But the true orchestrator had been hiding in plain sight, living a normal life under a false name. She had been seen at community centers, working odd jobs, even volunteering at shelters. No one suspected a thing. Emily Voss was arrested and charged with multiple counts of murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy. Her trial would become one of the most disturbing in state history. In the end, it wasn't just the brutality of the crimes that horrified people, it was the cold, calculated calm of the woman behind them.